And what's going up, guys? And it's your hostess with the mostest, Anomalycyra, coming back at it with another mind theory for your consciousness. I wanted to get in something today around the ideas of greatness. You know, all of that kind of ancient greatness. I guess I have to make sure I'm really specific, because now the ideas of greatness have become, in a way, I don't want to say less, but it feels like the time of great men has passed. Not to sound like that way about it. That seems okay. I guess I'll put it this way. Like, we all have this internal battle that we're doing. Whatever your outside experience is, could be completely stable and doable and above average, you know. I like to put it in this mindset because most people try to limit things by what their access is to materials. So let's even say if you're a billionaire, you would still have struggles and stresses. So what I mean by those would not be something in your outside world. So, you know, if you were bullied when you were a kid, that'll still be something that's always going to be inside of you. If there is, you know, if you weren't allowed to be yourself when you were growing up, that's going to be something that was inside you. If you were, you know, projected that you had to be something different than what you felt you were, then that'll be something inside you. And just again and again and again in many different ways, and a ripple effect. And we all, like, it's easy to say who knows where it comes from, and we're not sure, but we know, right? Like, every ripple came from another ripple that came from another ripple that came from another ripple. And then the original is a pebble. So we know this. But when you're experiencing the ripple, it doesn't feel like it's guiding you in a direction of greatness. And in this way, I've heard people explain things like, you must stand forth, right? Stand forth, good sir, and lean into the fire and the flame. And when you feel yourself at the edge and your toes are burning and your eyes can see nothing but the dark, lean forward and be brave. For that is the time of greatness. That is the realm of leaders, of humans. You know, you don't want to limit that to something, but you not only can be a leader of men, but you can be a leader of greatness. Something we call a role model that I don't necessarily know if it exists anymore, because our main focus is always, if you meet your hero, eventually they will become your villain. And in this way, I think it's something like what you worship, right? Or not in a religious form, but just those things that you worship, what you think has hold on you, whether it be a favorite sports team or a music artist that you like, or a political party that you serve. It can become something that you must obey it. And in this way, you are no longer free. Everything is a box within a box. Even searching to be completely free is a box, I believe. It's just a little bit roomier than allowing yourself to be subdued into a sleep mass of consciousness, flesh, bones, and something else. You know, in this way, I think it's that you must know, you have to know inside this amazing crystallized version of your higher self, this beautiful concept that is you, And each specific you is amazing. And not in a way where you do something spectacular. Simply your existence. And in such a way of thinking that all existence is magnificent. And the ability to have made it here to this place now, here, being able to listen to a podcast, being able to understand the gravity and the weight of the type of things that we talk about on this podcast, leaves yourself to believing that you are of something. I don't like to give something a type of label, because as soon as you put something on it, like if I say soul or spirit or essence or energy or vibration or any of those, in a way, they're all limiting and not enough. So think of it this way. If your realm of greatness is just a vibration sent to you from a higher dimension of yourself, how could I explain that to you in a small amount of time that wouldn't be both of our lifespans? It's very difficult. And you have to understand that when you start speaking from other dimensions, the time changes. It's a lot faster there, it's a lot slower here. I guess because the molecules are larger. So, now this is something I wouldn't say you're going to possibly find in a book somewhere. This is just through my own theories and putting together my own hyperbole of what I think it means. We like to do that because that is, that's the point of this. I really want to feel like a train of thought should be recognized as what it is. A pure, organic, unique train of thought. And when I go with that in these types of areas, I think it's the best way to handle these types of topics because they're so heavy and they're so deep, they could carry their own type of energy with them. And what do I mean? Look at it this way, when you have to explain and deliver really great news to someone, they got the job, it's their promotion, that doesn't feel as heavy as if you have to come and tell someone they've lost their job and you're firing them. Now this may not be a position that a lot of us are in, but for some of us who, you have a company, you're high up in your company, you're executive level, or you have to deal with responsibilities of people's livelihoods, there's a weight that comes to that. And I know a lot of people say, they're heartless, they don't feel anything. That's because you're on the outside and you don't know that it's a human being, or for some reason it's easier to disconnect to a person who isn't doing what we like, and then we may not treat them as human as we should. And in a way, that's the strangest thing that is actually human about us. It's a weird circle, but everything's a cycle, and the more you listen to this podcast, you'll start understanding that, and that's why things aren't really ending, they're just starting over again. Nothing really ends, it just starts over again. That's a really good one, you should write that down. Getting back to the ideas of greatness. Greatness doesn't have anything to do with the other person. Greatness has to do with your impact and your improvements, that your access to resources or access to knowledge that here otherwise would be almost invisible to other people. I'll put it this way. There's a gift that I have. You can tell me something and I can hear it hundreds of thousands of different ways. Not from my own platform or my own point of view, but from multiple different point of views. I feel that is not a gift that is simply onto me. It's one that I just simply have knowledge of. And a lot of people don't have knowledge of it. They have the same gift. So for me, it's utilized more, and just like any muscle, for me, it's stronger. So I have a way of seeing not only danger and caution and anxiety-induced fear, I don't really feel fear. So for me, I get to see it as another realm of being. When you see yourself in another realm of being, think of it as dimensionally. Everyone speaks of, fifth dimension, fourth dimension being time, 3-dimension us, the 2-dimensional stick people, and the 1-dimensional dot people. And I get that. I don't think they're really dots, but I mean, this is the way it was broken down, so it would be easier to understand. Towards the 3rd dimension, you get a body and a form, and then it leaves and you become something else within time, and 5th. But the things I want to explain is more like the 10th and 11th, where you yourself would just be a vibration or a light wave, and you're all of these things, so you don't have to separate yourself into being one, and one doesn't cause anything to the other. It's just like saying, explaining what a plant does, right? It eats sunlight and turns it into the color green. That isn't gonna make any, for you can't eat the sunlight and turn green. So that really has nothing to do with you. It's just something really neat that I think is kind of cool. And that's really all these are. These are little theories that you can have in your head and play with and think on, or share with friends, or share and explain with yourself. And don't forget to have conversations with yourself quietly in your head, because you talk to yourself all the time. You really need to make sure you're having good conversations, and ones that grow you in a positive way, and really deal with the things that are bothering you as well. The best thing you can be is being your own best friend, making sure you check in sometimes the same way you would a loved one, and making sure that you do that with loved ones as well, but you also do that with yourself. I'm more of a lone wolf, so I kind of understand that people have their bonds, connections, and ties, but everyone isn't that way, and that's the unique side of the world where you don't have to be that way. I think things are amazing and beautiful, and I can form such a connection and bond just to, my favorite color or something, because it's the same favorite color as my dad, or, these kinds of emotional bonds. I love those. Those are amazing, but they don't keep my train of consciousness from going outside of its own limitations. Whereas you might limit yourself from thinking a certain way because your friends, family, society, age group, cultural backgrounds may not allow you to. That's something that I think you want to look into and understand, that you always want to be able to feel and think a certain way. Like for me, I think about, let's look at it this way. So there's a revolution on Mars, and the Earthlings, no offense, you guys, the Earthlings want to be seen as first on Mars, and they like being treated first. And if you're a Martian citizen, you're treated second because you weren't born on Earth. And now there is a class struggle, and if you were born on Mars, you get treated differently, and then if you were born on Earth, you get treated better. And as the time has gone by, now it has switched, and you get treated better if you're born on Mars, and now you get treated worse if you're from Earth, like you don't belong here, even though we both need each other to exist. But during the Great Martian War, we both lost people on both sides and started a real type of union and an alliance to help people come together and understand their differences and what they had in common, instead of focusing on what's different about them. And I think that's the thing different that Earth didn't do, that Mars did. And that's why I think Mars was successful a lot faster than Earth was when it came to class wars. There are still valuation struggles, but as we all know, Mars doesn't use cash or any barter system like Earth would be used to. They have a type of, I guess it's something like how we would use credit cards. You have your valuations are put into the system, and then you have a code, and you use your code to obtain materials that you would like or need. But yeah, so it's kind of the same area. There's no card, it's just in the tip of your finger, a little thing I guess it's a credit card that you like put on your fingernail. It's like a sticker. No one wants to be injected with anything. They're very anti-robot, after the joining in, I guess, of the robot civilization. They don't really like even being called that. They like being called artificial intelligence or an AI person. So we like to call them that, or whatever their name would they would want to be called. And I think it's quite kind, and in ways like that, we understood that from Earth. These are some of the ideas I definitely understand would be highly probable. If you have a society that has at least 80% of the inhabitants of our city are scientists, engineers, and that so that means they're constantly coming up with things. We have our idealistic people, our visionaries. We've got the amazing mixture of persons that will really drive us forward even faster than anyone thought possible. And with that being true, I would assume that if we can already, to backdate this, if you're already in 2020, we've already had a robot sacrifice itself on Mars to get information out to us. It was going to a cold night. We all know Mars has a really cold night. So he sacrificed himself. He wasn't going to have enough time to send the information and shut down properly. So he froze in the middle of the night and sacrificed his hard drive. That's like a human sacrificing his heart to get the information back to, Team Alpha. And that's what was needed. And that sacrifice went down in history. And now they have a martyr, and they have someone that they worship. And I think if you think about it in the time frame, it's so strange thinking back to now. The wars were so small compared to planets that were at war. I really thought once we went to space, war would be over and it would be a type of peace, but I'm not really sure if peace can exist without war or war without peace. They might be two sides of the same coin. What kind of coin? I'm not sure, but we know that the universe and destiny makes its own rules, and we simply are here to observe. And in that way, though, I have observed own pain to myself. So I would say the gift of being the observer to some can feel like a curse, because I've been allowed to see horrible things. I've been allowed to experience and know of things that would probably break your average person. Which is why in this way, I feel a type of resonating joy with our military family. I'm a military brat. My dad served. My mom worked in the FBI security area for a while. She didn't have to work very long, so her career wasn't as long. I love my mom. She's a little spoiled. Still a threat today, though. If I ever don't contact her soon enough, she's like on my butt. So, maybe that is what made me so tough now. And so strong. I'm a product of my environment. I grew up in the suburbs, so I'm just used to honesty and kindness. You were welcoming, when you're somewhere, you hold the door, you're nice to old people, like all the regular stuff that for some reason is called old school, but I think it's just called human morality. It's something we all expect of each other, and I don't think we should call it old school, because, for me, that's even impossible, because I wasn't alive. I know about a lot of things I wasn't alive about, though. Like, I'm obsessed with the Socrates and Aristotle, even though, you'd have to understand, if I was there back then, he may not even let me listen to his scriptures. that might even have been a problem to say that word. Things were so iffy back then. You would be up on a cross, lickety split. And I know I said I don't want to, that you may be offended here, but I'm not trying to be that way. I'm also trying to keep it a little light, play a little fun and loose with it. But I was raised Catholic, so isn't it that you can say whatever you want about who you are and this kind of thing? At least I didn't fall into I'm spiritual now, but do I go to one? I did, no. But, I know the things so I can make the jokes, I feel. Or at least this is my justification for being maybe too lighthearted about, faith or beliefs. So, in this kind of way, you will experience pain, you will experience agony, and I don't think it helps anybody to sit in the forest and say there are no bears when the bear is going to eat you because you're by its child. You must understand consequences, reasons, and the attributes that can come to you are very helpful, and that's good for you and great for the universe. But at the middle of that, there is something more to you. You are put into a position to lead because you are taking a group somewhere. Lead is not a stagnate word. It is a word of action. It is a word of movement. You are a mover and a shaker, a builder, a world builder, a constructor of thought. When you are in that position, there is a heaviness to just who you are. So know this. If you hear this, never again, or repeat this podcast for yourself. Without the great men of this world, and I mean that as mankind, because this includes me as well, and I'm a woman. So there's mankind in the realm of it. If we do not have the visionaries and the idealists and the dreamers and the people who push forward the society that we are, that we don't drive forward to ourselves to do things like have a civilization on Mars, to come up with new metals and materials. We are that people, and we need to contain that and take care of those great people who lead us there, because it is because of your ideas or our ideas that we can reach forward and pull ourselves into this future, experience it in this beauty. That's why there are telephones. That's why there are cars. That's why there are chairs. Someone decided, as silly as it was, and it was silly at the time too, like think about telling someone there's a medical and magical box that you can use for medical purposes. That's why I said that first. That you can, call 911, or you can call a friend on, and you can talk back and forth. And it's called a phone signal, and people will have cell phones in their pocket, and we do this normally now, and it doesn't mean anything to us. If you explain this to someone in the 1800s, they'd think you were haunting ghosts into a metal box or something. Maybe you probably wouldn't be able to use it, but go with me. Go with me there. Go to that part of your mind where you use your imagination to fill in the holes. That's where your strength can come from. You can pull power from these places. Now, I don't want to reveal too much because it can actually be overwhelming just hearing the words, because this is what I was trying to speak about. Language and time actually can do something to your energy force field. So I keep these short because for me, it is a burst of light and energy that comes burning out of somewhere deeper than my heart, soul, and spirit and mind, other than my flesh, and other than anything that I could explain in human words that could make sense to the human mind and connect to you. So in that way, I would like you to just resonate with the energy and enjoy the speaking, but in that way know that your achievement, your constant upheaval of mediocrity, giving back meaning to that which is not just hyperbole, but tangible greatness. Inspiring. Next time I want to talk about psychosomatics. We'll go back into it a little bit more, but we're going to start talking more about the mind and the body. That's kind of what we were touching on today. But as always, I'm Anomalycyra, your most gracious host. I am humbled to have you here with me, as always. And we're just two friends having a great conversation. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.